Dan Drake, how are we doing today?
Christian, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How are
Of
you doing?
course, of course. I'm doing well, thank you. We have Dan Drake here from Industrial Applied Electric. Dan, you have a very interesting story, interesting background, and really cool to how you got into doing what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about what you do at Industrial Applied Electric, and ultimately how you got into it. Dan has recently acquired a business. He acquired some real estate, and he has also paired on another business as of most recently to that. So I really want to go over kind of what that process looks like. You find so much online about how, buying a business is a way, right? Buy instead of build. There's really not anybody that talks about what to do once you close on that deal, right? It's always about buy, buy, buy. You need to buy businesses. You need to create cash flow and buy cash flow. What happens once you buy it? I'm really excited to get into that with you today. So, Dan, start us off. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'll start off with what we do here at, so we say IAE for short. And we, the way we go to market is IAE Industrial Supply, but IAE is Industrial Applied Electric. Electric is a specialty of ours, but really what we are is we are a professional mechanic supply. And who we specialize in and who we serve are heavy machine operators, heavy diesel equipment, large trucks, things that are productive machines, machines that produce, that make money, that are commercial or industrial. We do have a bit of auto shop, but we don't really specialize in anything to an end user like a retail, like you'd go to like an O'Reilly's and buy something. We are a B2B business. 98% of our sales are to a registered business. We do have some more kind of hobbyists that know of us that will come in, but our business is really a regular, repeat, long relationship type business. So we are a regional supplier in Bend, Oregon. The Bend, Redmond, Central Oregon area is about 250,000 people. It's a growing region. It was, as of 2025, one statistic that the local economic development center likes to tout is this area's been the first or second fastest growing metro area of its size. I think that's under 500,000 people. So there's a lot of growth happening here. And our business is very dependent on construction, maintenance, a lot of dirt work, ground engaging work. When things are getting built and maintained, our customers are growing, and that's a good place for us. So yeah, we're a supplier, and the electric in our name is refers to our specialty. So electric systems in vehicles. So like your car likely has a 12-volt system, and that is when you turn your car engine on, it makes that tick 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 sound. That's a starter. That's a starter motor that gets your car started. That is the product line that put us on the map. This business turned 51 this year, and that
Wow.
has been our specialty. Our specialty is everybody likes to say they're good at things, and I think it's important that you definitely let the market know what your specialty is. But what's really cool about our business is we can stand behind our specialty and expertise. Several of our customers have told us that when it comes to your critical starting your vehicle or starting your piece of equipment for your starters, motors, alternators, batteries, etc., we have the best in stock selection available and knowledge, and that's a huge asset for us. So having the trust of our customers is really important, and that's what we do. So we supply mechanics, the head of the fleet, large fleets, with having some of those critical electrical components, as well as your everyday supplies and heavy tools and things like that. So it's
Awesome.
what you can almost compare us to, like if you went to like a Napa Auto Parts, but it was more for like large industrial equipment. Or if you like go to Home
Sure.
Depot, you go to like the wrenches aisle, and
Yeah.
they're say yay big. Like we sell things that are quite literally 6 foot long wrenches with 4-inch sockets and things like that. It's all just like very large scale of what you might see in your toolbox.
Got it. So growth is good for you, right? Construction is good for you, you can say. And is that,
Hmm.
I guess, is that commercial construction, residential construction, or just construction as a whole?
It's construction in general. About 45% of our sales come from excavation, excavator
Okay.
companies. So a residential lot development will go through heavy utility dig outs and grading, and then more smaller scale excavation, digging out the foundations. That is our biggest customer group. So a residential lot, just like a commercial lot, so like they built a new Costco here. That was a very large project. That's going to require the same similar excavation work, and there's a lot of trucking involved in that supply chain as well. So
Hmm.
that rock has to go somewhere. A lot
Yeah.
of it is reused, but there's a very right now with the developing area, there's a lot of excavation and ground engaging work that's happening. So that's definitely like our best customer segment. We also have like several city municipal fleets. So like there's street sweepers and snow plows. We have the
Hmm.
Oregon Department of Transportation. Their regional facilities out here, their customers, like even garbage companies, anybody that is running a large diesel piece of equipment, and
Yeah.
they have a shop where they do service on heavy diesel equipment. Like those are our customers.
Got it. Yeah, that's a
Mm.
nice revolving door of business, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah,
Um,
we like the relationship business. BDB is definitely something I was interested in terms of just more of a consistent, recurring type of business. And I like the access to the customer where it's a relationship. It's not as much like, new person off the street just coming in and buying what they want, but you can actually really get to know and learn and understand like the customer's needs, and you get to help them. So that's what's fun about our
sure.
business is really what we sell is time. So when a piece of equipment is down, the most important thing is to get that piece of equipment back up and operating. So
Sure.
downtime is very expensive, especially for larger operators. I mean, you're going to be somewhere between $1,000 to $8,000 an hour. You're losing
Hmm.
in various forms if you're down. So another thing that's good about that segment of our business is there's not a lot of price sensitivity. Having it in stock, and even if you can charge a premium for it, the customer's alternative is if it's not in stock, we have to wait 2, 3, 5 days. And at that point, I mean, they could be down 10, 50, $100,000, depending on what it was. So
Hmm.
it's a great place for us to sell a very useful product at a nice profit, but also like you make the customer very, very excited. So
Yeah.
there's definitely some good parts of this business where like you can make a very healthy profit and you can have a very happy and satisfied customer. So that's definitely one of the
Awesome.
fun parts of the business.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And it seems based on that, inventory management for you guys is such an important part of your business. How are you able to stay on top of that and make sure that you never run out of that product? Because like you said, time is very much of the essence in your with your customer base.
Yeah, it's something that so inventory really is our business. And our biggest investment we made in technology was on a POS inventory system. And it's been definitely it's a journey. So our business beforehand was about as old school as you could get. And I brought a few things to kind of show. So when we bought this business, this is how we would write invoices for customers.
Oh
So
wow. It's awesome.
this is handwritten, this is carbon copy.
Okay.
So they'll take a yellow copy, and then we'll mail the pink copy with the end of the month statements that we send out, and then the white
Okay.
copies for our records. So yeah, you probably imagine that's really hard to stay on top of your inventory.
Yeah.
We have it took us a while. So we did have somebody that we hired over the summer who was a high schooler's customer's daughter. So it was a very good use of. She did a really good job, but also it's one of those really good things to do for customer goodwill, where
Yeah.
we've seen that reciprocated. But we had her go through and get our inventory started in terms of like what we have. So we have
Hmm.
at least 4,000 unique SKUs, and there are plenty of products that they didn't have a very easily identifiable part number or no barcode, and that's the plus. Like, so if I had to guess, we have 6,000 unique SKUs in this warehouse. We probably turn 5% of them in a month. So
Okay.
that's not great math. We're over inventoried, and if I were to start this business from scratch, we wouldn't have done this. But it's a lot of leftover from the old owner.
Hmm.
He had over inventoried in some categories. We did not pay probably a full market value for the inventory, knowing that there's a lot of obsolescence in it. So
Hmm.
we have we have kind of this powder keg of inventory that we've really clearanced out, and it's helped us with some customer goodwill, customer acquisition, and we aren't really price sensitive to it because we're not going to replace it. It's been a nice little help for cash flow.
Sure.
That's not going to last forever, and then we're going to get to the point where we just have things that have no use anymore in terms of like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so old, nobody really needs this anymore. Um, and then really what we focused on is consolidating those SKUs. Okay, what do we have 4 of that really cover the same need? Great, let's sell out the 3 and just keep stocking the 1.
Understood.
So
Understood. So
yeah, it's been quite a
can
journey.
you,
We're definitely in it, but I'm really happy with what our team's done in terms of how much further we've gotten.
yeah, I mean, with that said, let's, bring us back a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let us know. You've been running the business for how long now? Maybe about a year or so?
A year and let's see, it's closer to 2 years now, so it's more than a year and a half. The
Okay.
closing date
Okay.
was July 1st of 2024.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, tell us about where you came from, what kind of brought this idea upon you, and just like the quick and dirty, how you got into this business, right?
Yeah,
How you purchased it, and ultimately how you got everything together, all the pieces in a row, just to that closing date on July 1st.
yeah. So it's a good question. How did I get here? Well, I've never turned a wrench professionally, so this is definitely a new industry for me. I was out of college. I got my CPA. Worked from the big 4 accounting firms, and I did was an auditor. I was a financial statement auditor. So I worked on audits for hedge funds, mutual funds, private equity funds, a handful of publicly traded companies. That's where I started. Accounting isn't really my passion, but it was a very, very useful skill to acquire early on. I since transitioned into industry where I moved more into hybrid accounting systems, finance roles, and then I moved into a true financial planning and analysis career. So I did that for about 5 years. And through that time, through the industries that I worked for a public utility, so electrical and some natural gas. I worked for a large timber and manufactured wood products company. And I worked for a startup, but it was for trucking. And then my last stint in industry was I worked for a wood treater, so like pressure treated wood, the things that the like power line poles you see of made of wood.
Sure.
Those are pressure treated so they can withstand all the changing elements for electrical infrastructure. So
Okay.
I've been in industry for like things that are more like industrial heavy equipment production. I had been around it quite a bit, and every chance I got, I would go on tours with different operators. I supported some operational leaders, and anytime I could get out to like an active harvest or a sawmill or a treating facility or a like power plant, I would take advantage of that. It was a great opportunity to really learn about the business that you're working in and you're serving. So I wasn't really new to being around equipment, but I just didn't have any technical ability. I couldn't tell you, okay, how do you diagnose a thing and what kind of part do you need to
Yeah.
fix the thing? That was all new to me. As a kid, I liked to build skateboard ramps and I was comfortable using different power tools. I like changed my alternator and my Ford Focus when I was 17. So I wasn't afraid of it. And there's part of it that I found interesting, but like professionally, it was all new.
Hmm.
So that was really why I was already kind of interested in industry. But one thing that really got me into like, well, why buy a business? I really liked on the like the finance side, the whole, okay, like how do you invest and make a return and what opportunities are there other than like what we all know of, like, oh, you can buy stocks or index funds. I ended up getting into real estate investing. So over time, we had acquired 6 properties. We have 4 now. So we sold 2 for different reasons. And I really liked the long term investing in a different asset class. There's a lot of things about real estate that I liked. And if you were to watch like any Bigger Pockets podcast or anything like that, like all the things that they talk about, I was a believer in. I still am.
Sure.
And that really wet my beak into acquisition. And okay, so you can generate value by not just making a passive investment, but by making an active investment. And
Sure.
yeah, I didn't, the whole like risk tolerance and taking risk. I'm definitely conservative in terms of risk taking, but I like to take risk frequently, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. So I will definitely look for more stable asset classes and investment opportunities, but I do like to do those opportunities really as often as I can. And it's something that's almost something I'm like kind of excited about, like seeing like
Sure.
the movie Wall Street or something like that. Like, oh yeah, we're going to make deals, which
Yeah.
it's not really as like sexy or crazy as that, but I've always liked it. And I worked on a good number of deals in my finance career with sales or acquisitions of timberland or production facilities. And as I progressed in my career, I got like quite involved, having some lead roles. And the last big thing I did was being the lead analyst on a $50 million acquisition of a wood treating facility or group of facilities. And 50 million is considered small to most large enterprises, but to me, that's huge. So
Sure.
getting
Yeah.
into something like this, it was something that I wouldn't say I was like, oh, I'm an expert, but I had been around it and I was comfortable and it was fun to do on behalf of yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I actually Acquiring Minds was the podcast that really got me hooked. I had a friend who I worked with at one of my companies who's turned into a good friend and a really good mentor that
Hmm.
him and I would just talk about, oh, like I knew somebody that they worked for a fund and they would buy all these smaller operating companies and roll them up, and it really kind of piqued my interest. I started watching these Acquiring Minds podcasts, or listening to them rather. I read the Buy Then Build book. This is a pretty well trodden path, but since then, that really hit me like, okay, this is something I'm really interested to do. And there was another life goal that my wife and I had that this helped us achieve. We were living in Seattle, Washington we lived there for 8 years. We're from the Midwest. She's from
Okay.
Chicago. I'm from Minneapolis, but we really wanted to move to this area, Bend, Oregon. It's a
Okay.
beautiful, beautiful area. It's on the desert side of the mountains, so you get a lot of the Pacific Northwest beauty of like Washington, Oregon, the Cascades, all the outdoor recreation. I'm a big skier, so it's really convenient to have the largest resort in the Pacific Northwest 30 minutes away. And they're also a customer, which is a fun thing.
That's
So
awesome.
I get to have like a legitimate business reason to go skiing
Yeah.
sometimes. But we really wanted to come here. It's a great lifestyle. It's a really good pace for a family. And we had just
Sure.
started a family, which I wouldn't necessarily advise to try to do all this stuff at the same time. I've had fun. It's been crazy fun. Our son is 1, so we actually were expecting our second as we closed. So
Okay.
we've
Well,
had,
congratulations on
yeah,
all that success. That's first
it's
and
been,
foremost, family, right?
yeah, it's been great. So we had a goal to get to this area. So I started looking for businesses to buy,
Sure.
and
Sure. And
I've
and walk me through, once you found this business, how did you finance it, right? What was did you have to get a small business loan? Was it
mhm.
seller financing? I think I heard there was real estate involved as well. Can you walk us through how that kind of happened?
Yeah, so I found this business on Biz Buy Sell. I had looked at 8 others, so this was the ninth, but I was really only 2 months into my search when we found this one. And it was listed as a supplier for logging, trucking, and excavation. And I had actually quite a few years of experience in logging, forestry, and sawmilling. It's like, okay, this is probably something I should look at. And we were looking for something that was in the industrial construction supply chain and B2B preferred. So this checked all the boxes. Found this, got the signed an NDA, got the SIM, the seller's information memo, and it didn't necessarily do a great job explaining the business, at least as I know it today, but it was a solid business. It was a very healthy margin business. It was in the high 40s and it had a really good customer list. I went and Googled the different customers to figure out who they were, and I was actually quite surprised. Like, whoa, okay, these are like some of the bigger players. And as I've grown to learn, like, they're some of the biggest players are our regular customers. But what we were looking for was something that was, yes, more industrial, a little more recurring, a little more stable, and came and visited this business. And it had all of the old school things you could probably imagine, like the paper invoicing, very rarely used computers for anything. I mean, there were more faxes being sent than emails, if that's a good way to
Okay.
explain it.
Yeah. That gives us the gist.
Yeah. And there's some really cool things about it. So it's a really well constructed building. It's a warehouse, but it wasn't listed for sale. It was really just the business. So
Okay.
I didn't know if real estate was on the table, but I did find out that the seller did own the real estate. And it was originally proposed like, oh, okay, well, we can do like an adjusted rent for a period of time to help you get on your feet. And I mean, personally, I don't really love that idea. I feel like you just don't have as much control where you
Yeah.
have some, little special starting deal with rent, because who knows how fast that can flip upside down on you. So the warehouse is 8,000 square feet. So it would be a pretty sizable rent bill if that thing started to escalate on us.
Sure.
So I got the financials for the business, saw the business. It had very good customer interactions that I observed for the few that I was able to. And from there, after I really looked at it, it just wasn't big enough for really me to justify moving my family and really going on this huge adventure of, okay, like, we're going to start running a business. Its SDE was below 200. It was like more like 130. And
Okay.
that was including a pro forma rent.
Okay.
And I was just looking at that and thinking, well, SDE is not even 200. And then there's going to be financing costs on this. I
Sure.
don't know if I'm confident that I could like grow this thing at any rate that could make it, some level of return for my family. We're a young family. We don't have the luxury of, investing and waiting for any long period of time. My wife had a job at the time, so like we had some other income, but it just didn't feel big enough to take the risk. So I had done some pro forma math of, okay, I had an SBA lender engaged at the time.
Sure.
What if we offered to buy the business and the building? So I did a pro forma on that. And what we saw with, okay, well, you can get substantially longer terms. So you can go from a 10-year amortization to a 25-year. Real estate backed deals have better interest rates, so our borrowing costs were less. And even with the SBA, I mean, you can do a 10% down with real estate involved. And that made it attractive enough where if we were to pro forma that rent back in, that we were not spending, your SDE is like back into the 300s, just based on the
Wow.
size of the building. So that was, I had no idea if the seller had any interest in selling the building as well, but I told myself like, hey, don't be in love with this business if it can't, hit what it needs to hit to start out on the financial side. So countered with that offer, and it didn't take long for them to accept. And I had submitted an offer with the real estate involved with an SBA loan, and they had countered with similar terms, a slightly higher real estate price, but it was only 100,000 more on a $1.8 million purchase.
Hmm.
So, percentage wise, it wasn't huge. And
Sure.
I had put in a appraisal as part of the LOI and the diligence, so I still wasn't going to pay for above an appraised value. But
Yeah.
they came back with that counter, and another concession they made was, okay, seller finance, similar terms to what you get from an SBA, but a 5% interest rate. So a 5% interest rate in 2024, pretty much unheard of. There was just no chance you could get that at a bank.
Yeah.
So I'd even talked to my SBA lender and said, like, hey, I think I know the answer, and you've been a great help, and I want to do business with you, but like, here's my terms. Like, let's just talk about this pragmatically. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was within 2 minutes, he was like, you'd be dumb not to take that deal.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It would be great for you to do business with us, but we both know like that's the way to do it. So that was really how it all happened. And I don't need to go too much in depth of the acquisition,
Sure.
but it
So yeah,
was it
that's
was good terms, and that was really what
yeah.
gave us the confidence to, okay, perfect. Let's this is probably a sign that, okay, we're getting good terms. We have real estate to back the purchase, and
Sure.
just having that as like a stable asset, an asset that can hold its value, that just made me feel much better with risk. I could
Yeah.
completely tank a supply business that at the time I just didn't know much about.
Yeah.
I am not perfect by any means, but I just didn't think I could damage the value of a warehouse.
Certainly. Yeah, that's definitely some great downside mitigation right there.
Mm.
Now, let me ask you, what surprised you? Like you said, you weren't an expert in running the business. When you did close, when everything was said and done and you walked in and started operations, what surprised you most once you were actually running it day to day?
How much, like, there's definitely a handful of things. And I can give you some kind of positive and some kind of neutral. And I didn't have any surprises that were really scary or negative. Maybe a few that were maybe wake up calls. One of the early positive surprises were how much trust that our customers had with us built over time, and how much they wanted us to succeed and wanted to do business with us. That was a very good green flag to have early. Having your customer sentiment of support gave me a good feeling that, okay, our customers want us to win and want to win with us. It's our job to meet their needs. And what I do like about B2B is, like, you can be pretty upfront with your customers. Like, okay, what are you looking for? Like, what are the most important things about this product line or this service? Well, we were able to kind of bring the customers along for our journey, our chapter 2, if you will, our new ownership. And
Yeah,
we had a lot of customers that they were just really interested and excited to see this business get some new life, and were very willing to help us improve and expand our product and service lines.
that's awesome. That's pretty much like when you bought the business, you also had built-in partners that help you succeed and you help them
Mm.
succeed. It's a win-win. That's really cool. And with that said, I know you made some updates to the business as well, like going from paper invoices to documentation online. So what was, if not that, what was one of the biggest shifts that you made in the business as far as digitizing it or modernizing it? Um, and what type of difference does that make for you today and moving forward?
Yeah, so that having our inventory and our really our customers and our vendors and our inventory all in one system. So we can submit purchase orders from our system. We receive inventory in our system. We sell inventory out of our system. We can communicate to customers easier. We can email invoices. We can, like just yesterday, I sent a customer an invoice via text, and the link on the text had a payment option. And that's like, there's just these kind of like small, easy modernizations that are just right in front of you, but it's just one less barrier to make a sale. And those things definitely work and just makes it easier for the customer to buy. So those were some like examples of, okay, let's get in a system and now we know what our inventory levels are. We used to walk around with like a big clipboard and different aisles. We would just inventory and like, yep, we need to restock that. Seemed kind of crazy to me. I like to have everything at my fingertips and
Sure.
be able to know what inventory is if I'm, say, at home or on the road with a customer or in the warehouse or back in the office, as opposed to, well, I better go check our clipboard and see where we're at. Those are the things that just operationally you don't realize how much time you might save, but saving 5 minutes on all these processes every day, before you know it, you've got 2 or 3 extra hours a day per person. And
Hmm.
that allows us to spend more time on business development, customer interactions, um, even like merchandising in our front area. We don't have a huge like retail space, but a lot of customers will come in and pick up, and having an area where we're displaying different product lines has absolutely helped make sales. So having the
Awesome.
system was a great backbone. And then another big thing that we've tried different approaches to this, but it was really playing offense on the sales side. We were probably more of an order taking type business, and we really moved into, okay, let's promote, let's find products that are popular, let's ask customers about what's hard for them to find or what they buy a lot of,
Hmm.
and even just putting some promotions in our front area is, some SKUs really took off. Some we didn't sell a thing, but in the past it was, well, we were just kind of being order takers, and a customer come in and ask for a thing, and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like way back here on the other side of this 8,000 square foot warehouse. We'll be back.
Sure.
Um,
Okay.
and that's still a work in progress, but it's just making our customers more aware of what we have. Like,
Understood.
heard that way too often. Like, oh, yeah, we'd like to do business with you. We just didn't even know you had that. Like, oh, yeah, that's actually one of our top 15 selling SKUs. Our fault. We should do better at that. So that was really the playing offense on sales and service has been a big growth spot for us. There's been things that you would think would work that have failed miserably, and there's been some things that it almost seems too easy and obvious. You're like, well, this can't work because it's so simple. Like, why?
Sure.
No, why would we don't see this happen a ton from our competitors per se? Like, why would it work? And then we do it, and we're like, wow, that was too easy. Like, what's the catch? And then we have things that we're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, that worked. Like with this product line, it should work with this, and then it doesn't. But here's kind of the, to talk about modernization and flip it on its head of like, oh, okay, so maybe just being modern and digital isn't always the key to success. We made a pretty large investment in marketing with
Okay.
with an agency. They built us a more modern website, and then they began an online advertising campaign through Google, Facebook, Meta. So through what we paid to the firm and then our online advertising fees to those different platforms, within a 7-month period, we had invested about $25,000. We got maybe 2 traceable leads total, 2. And I just couldn't believe that. And I had certain customers tell me like, oh, I'm seeing your ads on Instagram. I'm like, oh, that's good. Where are the sales?
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
it was a head scratcher. And we even put a lot of our time invested with the marketing firm. And they even said, like, you're one of the most responsive clients we've ever had. And
Yeah.
then throughout that time, we've seen good growth. We have been at a pretty consistent, but 30% year over year growth clip for the last 18 months, which we're very fortunate to have. So it was tough for us to reconcile. Like, well, we're growing and we're getting good feedback from customers. We think we have a good product and service.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that succeed with an online presence? So there's a lot of reasons it could or couldn't, but we ended up making the call. Like, okay, like we've tried a few different things, even tried two different agencies with some different approaches, like mailing campaign, radio campaign, nothing.
Wow.
It just was kind of a head scratcher. And
Interesting.
during this time, we made another investment, and this is, you would round this investment to zero because it was $240.
Okay.
It was a color printer. And we started making flyers for different promotional products, or even just making customers aware of the things we had, or we'd make flyers for things we were way overstocked in, so we clearance them out at good value. Some of those flyers went nuts, where we would sell out of a clearance aisle in like 2 weeks, or we would have a stock of something we're bringing in as a new product, and within the third day, we're like, okay, we're out of stock. Like, we'll have to start taking back orders on this. I mean, it really is as simple as, like, this is the kind of stuff we would do.
Okay.
And it worked really well. And we put a lot of focus in like a consistent brand. Some of our first flyers and communications were, almost like a rough thing made in Excel, but now we really leaned into our logo and our name. And any diesel mechanic who's been in this area for more than 10 years has likely worked with us before. But a lot of them just didn't necessarily know we had these things, or didn't know that we could be competitive in price on some of these things. And once you just kind of give the customer the answer, like, it's really successful. So
interesting. So with that said,
that's been like one of our best successes. That's not online marketing or modernization. Like, that might be considered old school.
Yeah. I mean, with that said, my next question is again, taking inventory, balancing that digital presence, having those promotions in the front of the store. What type of metrics are you looking at, right? Are you still collecting that manually, or do you have, metrics tracked on an Excel spreadsheet, or what type of metrics are you looking at for that?
Well, one thing I was excited about with the marketing online was, okay, great. Like, we have all these funnel statistics that we can follow and manage and understand, like, where we can invest in certain like online channels. Well, when you get nothing, it doesn't matter how much you stuff the top of the funnel if the answer is zero. So that was, again, a huge head scratcher. Like, we couldn't even diagnose like where we were failing, because the end result was nothing. So it's like, well, if you get 100 clicks or 10,000 clicks and the answer is still zero, it's really hard for us to make any deductions on marketing spend. I'll tell you one thing. When you get into the small business side of things, all these things like tracking and having a lot of really good data, at least at our size, that's just something that I have not invested the time in. It's definitely feels like taking a few steps back in terms of being from a larger corporate environment where, okay, we can have metrics on all these different things. Well, we were taking things by hand in the past, and I don't actually have metrics on like what's the success rate or hit rate. Now, we likely could produce them fairly quickly and easily, because we have all of our sales data by SKU, and we'll know generally when these things went out. But when you're at a small business side and all of a sudden you surge demand, well, a lot of our excess time, including my own, goes into fulfilling and serving customers. And some of the administrative and monitoring and reporting that I'm used to, we just haven't really focused on it yet. Now, I'm probably selling it short. We've certainly improved a lot of our different metrics that we track. A lot of them are financial. Maybe at this stage of this business, liquidity is still very important. If we're irresponsible with inventory purchases, that could get upside down on us quick. So
Sure.
financials really probably one of the biggest things that we look at. Gross margin and gross profit are right now, those are our two biggest numbers that we focus on. So
Okay.
gross profit and sales are our two headline numbers that we watch. Our fixed cost structure is relatively stable.
Okay.
And then especially if you take out some investments in marketing, so much of what we focus on is really like the top line growth of the business.
Got it. Okay. So
But
with that said,
mhm.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but we certainly have aspirations to get better at tracking and monitoring. So we see like what our customer growth or changes are year over year for time
Hmm.
periods. We monitor the different categories of growth. So our focus has been, and you'll hear this 1,000 different ways across a lot of, modern business media podcasts. You'll hear this on, especially in more like your marketing and software. All of our focus has been expanding recurring product lines. So things that are
Sure.
used or
Okay.
consumed, things that a customer will be back for either next week, next month.
Hmm.
And then even there's a handful of product lines that are great products for us that, okay, it's really a 3-year replacement type situation.
Understood. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So over the next, 6 to 12 months, what's the thing that you're focused on improving in the business as far as, your efficiency wise? Is it the marketing? Is it the tracking, the data? Is it all of the above? Kind of what's that focus now over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months?
Yeah. So this year, so like I can kind of speak to me personally and how it translates into the business. So at the date of the acquisition, there's 3 employees. So I was really out of necessity starting to work in the business pretty early. And I also did that on purpose as well. I went out and met our top 15 customers right away, tried to get out and meet as many customers as possible. I tried to really, really work up at like the checkout, the order processing, quote process, procurement, etc. Like I try to really get in and understand so I can have a better understanding of our business, of our customers, and use that to really identify, okay, here's what I've learned, and knowing that, here's where we want to go. My personal focus for going into this year will be moving out of working in the business as much and more working on it. So in that time period of 19 months, we have 6 employees. So we've added
Hmm.
2 sales reps and a business intelligence / operations manager. He was the one that
Okay.
really spearheaded our modernization and implementation of our point of sale and inventory system and some of the other like business intelligence type monitoring. So we now know what sales are every 2 hours. I
Got
used to
it.
have
Okay.
to ask our accountant
Yeah.
mid-month to add up this handwritten invoices so I could have an idea of
Yeah.
what sales are. But just using that data infrastructure, like that's having a really high quality person that can do that, and helped me move more into like, okay, a manager type role where, okay, here's the things that I want us to monitor. Here's the things that I want us to track or have data on.
Sure.
That's an example of the like really the administrative health and routine like process operation is going to be a
Okay.
big focus this year. So we don't have a great establishment of like responsible, accountable, committed or involved. Like, okay, who is the distinct owner of all of these processes within our business?
Understood. Okay.
That's going to be a big focus of mine going forward, so we can have the business really function by itself without me needing to do anything. And I'm at a point where really me being involved slows everybody down.
Sure.
because when you're like the free safety mercenary type, like you get in, you help out, but then all of a sudden you leave something in your court that nobody knows about, and then you kind of accidentally create chaos. So
Hmm.
getting all of our processes like documented, established, and then enhancing them is a big focus of ours.
Okay.
Procurement, especially, we have a lot of vendors that have overlapping products. We have some opportunities for better cost to us. And really would just be margin expansion. We have opportunities for better fulfillment, with time being so important to our
Hmm.
customers, having the best source identified for all the products, and having a very fast way to, okay, take an order, find the product, place the order, get it in the warehouse as fast as possible at a competitive cost. That's one of those backbone processes that we're really just building. So that's going to be the focus for this year. Our accounting and bookkeeping is probably not as clean as I would like it. It's always good to have good books and records. So it's going to be a lot of process stuff this year.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of laying that foundation right after the acquisition, laying that foundation, upping the efficiency of everything and getting that data in place so you then can step out of working in the business and step more into working on it, it seems. Now, we were speaking offline a little bit. You did mention also that I wanted to touch on this as well, that you recently had another acquisition. Can you talk us quickly through that as we're finishing up here? What led to that acquisition and kind of what's the plan with that? Is that a completely separate lane, or is that something that you see complementing what you're currently doing?
Yeah, that is really a vertical integration, almost in its truest sense. So that acquisition opportunity came to us. A vendor offered this territory to us. So as part of our electrical specialty, having batteries, which would be like the same type of battery that you put into your car, we've always had batteries as a really like a top 10 product line. Vendor relationships have been something I put a lot of time in, just like customer relationships. And I like to be pretty clear above my goals and ambitions to those that I partner with and interact with. So I built a relationship with this individual. We went golfing, funny enough. So it's one of those, like, this is like kind of a funny, stupid thing, but it definitely puts a smile on my face to say, like, yeah, that deal started on the golf course. Like,
Oh yeah.
cool. Which is stupid, but it just definitely felt like a kind of I made it moment for a dumb reason, but it truly did. So despite us being, especially early on, like, okay, you're old school and you don't have a lot of things documented per se. One thing I was very consistent about early was having a well documented mission, like a mission, a vision, and like a financial plan for the years we've operated. So we have one for 25, we have one for 26, and it's detailed enough to really prescribe, like, okay, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it, and here's here's of all these different initiatives we plan to take, here's how we are going to turn this into this goal number for sales and profit in this year. And one of the important things that we got out of that was really the more like about us mission and vision. So I mean, I would have something like this with me for different interactions and vendors. So I gave this actually to the vendor before. It's just nice little context about the business. I think it's always helpful if your partners know more about what you do. They can help you
Sure.
better. You can help them better. And one of the pages I have, it's a slide deck, but one of the slides I have is a vision. And I have in the vision, it says broader than IAE, meaning it's bigger than just this business. And the vision is to have a small portfolio of either vertical integrations or like quasi related companies in the Central Oregon area. I like the local ownership side. I like to have the involvement in the community. And there's a lot of businesses that are more like in that industrial space that there's a lot of like smaller mom and pop owners out here that I think over time could be an opportunity for us to acquire. That struck a note with the seller of he was our vendor, so he would deliver us batteries every 2 weeks. He was not local. He was over on the other side of the state. So that's the Willamette Valley, which is Portland all the way down to Eugene, where the University of Oregon is. That's a much larger industrial center that's right on the Interstate I-5. So there's a lot of transportation, warehousing, etc. It's a much denser market than what it is out here. And when this vendor saw this, and I'll give him props. So he's more middle-aged, like in his 50s. He's got his kids are getting into college now, but he has a vision himself of retiring and moving to where his kids are. In this case, most of them are in Texas now.
Okay.
So unlike the owner that I bought from, who was in his 80s, it was one of those like, oh, you kind of waited until it was the end. he really was putting plans to like cash out on his business, and he had actually bought the business from the individual that he worked for. He bought it in the 90s, so he's owned it for I think 25 years now.
Okay.
And he saw an opportunity. He had some conversations with potential buyers, and one thing that was a sticking point for them was this territory that was on the other side of this mountain range. It was logistically challenged. It really added a whole nother level of service that's needed. You needed to have somebody who had a commercial driver's license, CDL, because they could drive a semi-class truck full of batteries across the mountains. And that was a sticking point for him to sell a much larger business on that side. So his business is probably 4 times bigger than what this territory is. But
okay.
it really resonated with him, and he had told me that a handful of other people have offered to buy this territory, and he brought it to us because he really trusted us with our reputation and our approach to grow it, and he wanted it to succeed after he'd sold it. And then what he gets out of it is he expects that it'll be easier for him to sell his larger business with it all more in of a contiguous, like similar distribution area. So yeah, it was substantially easier than the first acquisition. I'm not saying it was easy, but there was no real estate involved. It was a product line we already carried, so it wasn't something that we had to learn. It really fit into our products already. We got margin expansion on day one from our existing customers who were buying that product. And then we acquired 30 customers, and it was all in our territory already. So we didn't have to expand any further than we were. There's a lot of density in that territory. So about more than half of those sales or half of those customers are within 10 minutes of our warehouse.
That's awesome how you vertically integrated, you added clients to your current business, and obviously you picked up that business in the meantime. So in 2 years from now, let's say, right, if things are running well, what does that actually look like for you? Now that you've just expanded a little bit, you're starting to kind of get the efficiencies and the data down with the first business. Let's say 2 years from now, everything's gone as planned. What does that actually look like? And what advice would you give someone watching this that is looking to start or operate their first business?
Yeah, those are all great questions. So, coming from a financial background, especially working in financial planning and analysis, where this really was my job for a good 7-8 years, doing budgets and forecasts. I've got good context to thinking about, okay, what's in your vision of what 2 years out from now looks like. I definitely think in your headline financial numbers. So the year we acquired this business, it was starting to shrink, and that was used appropriately in negotiations of, hey, like you're buying a business that's sales are going down, like that allowed us to negotiate more favorable terms. So the first year we ended up finishing 2024 at 700,000. Now, that was only a half year of our ownership. The owner stayed on until Halloween. So for up until, it wasn't really till November 1st that our business was, okay, this is like really the first new day of a new owner.
Yeah.
I didn't make any changes to anything significant while the old owner was here. He had built a great business. It was a great reputation, and it was a very in-demand product for the customers that we served. There were certainly things that, anybody would have a disagreement with, how somebody from one generation would run a business versus another. And we had very different backgrounds. Like he had been a mechanic in the field type operator his whole life. I had been more behind a desk with like spreadsheets and financial analysis. So I already had different approaches to how we'd run the business, but didn't make any real changes until November 1st. Now, what happened several days before that? Our son was born. He was born on the 27th of October. So that first year, only half of it that we owned, but then between the owner being here and me not wanting to really shake anything up, I really wanted to respect the legacy he built and not make it feel like I was kicking him out.
Yeah.
I wanted him to really feel like, okay, this is the business that he knows and he's leaving it, seeing it get run his way. And then of course we had our son like 3 days before that. And that was, we had everything was good and healthy, and our son we've been fortunate to have like great sleepers and a lot of all the things you'd want as a parent. So everything you could hope for, but still it's a newborn. It was a new addition to our family. There just wasn't a lot of like owner focus, or at least owner energy, to put a lot of changes in place that first year. But I did have a financial and operational plan that I had been working on during this time. And the second week of January, I really finalized it. And that next year we expanded. So we hired the business intelligence manager and another sales rep. So we were able to grow. We had a set a goal of $1 million in sales at a similar margin of 40%. And we finished the year right in there with margin at 41% gross margin. We did 985 in sales. So we were just short of the goal.
Wow.
But we were happy about it, because going from 700 to $1 million is a 44% target. So still hitting the 40% growth in the first year was very positive. And we had a lot of good learnings too about things that worked and things that didn't, like the marketing spend. And okay, that was a lot of effort and capital that we're not going to do this year. We knew that the battery deal is potentially in the pipeline. That didn't close until October 21st of this year. So we've really only had it operating for 3 full months at this point. That did add about an annual book of sales of 400 grand. So we definitely have to, we can't count that as true growth. We bought it. Now we bought it at great terms. We bought that profit at better terms than we did this business. So it has been incremental profit and cash flow and accretive to our business, which has been really helpful. It's been great. Plus we were able to expand margin with an existing product line, and we were able to expand our other offerings to these new customers so far. But as of today, if you just look at an average of our last 3 months, we're doing about a $1.2 million run rate in sales. So last 3 months, we've seen it be about 100 grand in sales. And our goal for this full year through customer acquisition and product expansion is 1.6 million. So then if I were to think about like where we want to grow in 2 years, I want us to get our business to a $2 million a year sales. And we did transition into being more of a distributor with this battery business. So I do expect our gross margin to go down to like a mid-30s number. So we're targeting, expecting like a 35% gross margin, which we knew and expected. When you sell to somebody who then sells to an end user, you just have to give them room to make a profit so you can sell the volume. And that's
Of course.
just through kind of researching and understanding the industry. What we saw in the profit margin was very normal, very in line with the industry. It just brought our margin down. So
Yeah.
we had a business that was doing mid 40% gross margin, and then we bought a business that was doing like 30 even, like 29
Yeah.
to 31% gross margin. So that's really where that number came from. But that's our goal, is to get 1.6 this year. And then if I had to look at like what's a healthy, ambitious, but achievable growth number in 2 years, I would say 2 million.
And that would be for both of them, kind
That
of
would,
pairing into
yes.
one.
Yeah, because we rolled that business into our business.
Okay.
We acquired that business with our holding
Oh,
company.
I see. Okay. Okay. So it's
So
now the same company.
yeah, so we go to the market with our same logo.
Hmm.
Like all of the warehousing and logistics and whatnot that is required for the battery business, we just do in our warehouse. So we didn't acquire any employees with it. We
Yeah.
acquired customers and inventory, and we already had the infrastructure and capabilities to deliver. Now, certainly some improvements and
Hmm.
investments we had to make, but they were relatively minimal. So that's
Okay.
our business really just rolled that smaller business into IAE. And, in the next 2 years, do I actually foresee another acquisition? No. I want to focus on growing this to something healthy and consistent before having the appetite to look at another acquisition.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and ultimately kind of get yourself out of that business before putting your focus elsewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciate you being so open about all this, Dan. Finishing off here, do you have any last words to say to whoever's watching this, whoever wants to learn more about, how to buy a business, how to operate a business, and just, I guess, a couple bullet points that they should think of before they go ahead on that venture?
Yeah. My very first thought is like, if you have the desire to do it and you can find something that you think you can succeed in, it's definitely worth taking the jump, at least in my experience. It's been the most engaging and fulfilling thing I've ever done in terms of making a living.
That's
And
incredible.
there are times in their industries and their situations where I could see it being challenging, especially if it was something that had like more retail or weekend hours. But just from all the other businesses that I see out there, at least in our market, there are a lot of businesses out there that are really like a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 type operation, that are in some pretty healthy industries. And there's a lot of overlooked opportunities out there that it just might seem like it's too big, or, well, why wouldn't a large industrial, like institutionally backed competitor come and beat me and crush me? At our size, we just don't see a ton of like crippling competition. Like, if there's just a lot more opportunities out there than you may expect, and like following your intuition and gut is just surprisingly effective. Definitely
That's awesome.
be ready for it. Know your numbers, have a plan, be committed.
Hmm.
Look for something that the whole like don't like the whole buying unsexy businesses. I think there's a lot of truth to that. If you jeopardize like, oh, it's a passion of mine to have a
Sure.
business like this, like that's where you could start making sacrifices, because it's a passion, and it's like, this is the way it should be done. What I do like about industries that are unsexy is, don't get me wrong, I do think what the customers we serve and how we serve them is like interesting, and the different like problems and parts and solutions that we help, they're fun and interesting things, but I don't
Hmm.
wake up thinking about it. I don't love it. Like, oh, how could you get your vehicle to start this morning? That's a
Yeah.
problem. That's a problem. That's not something super exciting. So
Yeah.
yeah, finding that mix of something that's like interesting enough that you would like enjoy learning about it, but critical enough that, yeah, this business, you don't have to sacrifice like your creative passion. You
Hmm.
could just find something that's, yep, if this is a stable and durable industry, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there.
That's awesome. And that's to that point, right? That's the beauty of buying instead of building, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you just had your 51st anniversary. It's been making money. It's still in business. You have
Mm-hmm.
customers. Your job now is ultimately, it seems, customer service. Just double down on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have those relationships, you'll succeed. But thank you again for all this information, Dan, for coming on here, being open. I look forward to coming on again, maybe in a couple years with you after you have accomplished all those future goals, and we're ready to maybe talk about the next acquisition, right? But until then, Dan, take care, and until the next time.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Christian. Yeah, best of luck on your podcast. It's a really cool opportunity. So thank you again, and yeah, thanks to your audience as well.